Hi, my name's Ella. I was age 13 when I had a stroke, and this is my experience. I'd previously been kickboxing like a long time, and in my life, a couple of days/weeks ago, I had a trauma to my neck, and we presumed that that was where my signs signals were coming from. I started to feel quite unwell. My arm felt really heavy and I got like loads of pins and needles. And I told my mum and we went to A&E. I was quite slow. I wasn't responding as well. I was quite slow, yeah. I wasn't with it at all. My parents put it down to just me being tired because I had a big day that day. I had an experience the day before with a massive hatch went down on my hand, and my mum put it down to that because it started in my hand, and the pins and needles started working their way up to my face and my left side of the body.
I called 111 because she said she'd lost the feeling, and they asked me a few questions. Could she raise her arms and hold them there and things like that? She couldn't, so they then advised that I take her to A&E just to get her checked over. So we did that. We arrived at A&E. Again, Ella was very slow, not with it. And when we saw the triage nurse, she looked at her and almost instantly asked me if the smile had always been drooped. And that's when alarm bells rang and it started to move along quite swiftly after that. Stroke in the young does not cross your mind. That was the last thing I thought.
Yeah.
And then it was CT scans, MRIs.
MRIs.
Yeah.
At that point we was informed that she'd had a stroke. From that stroke they said that now we're looking to move her because they took us into a room and said she's very, very critical. We do not know what to happen in the next 20 minutes. We don't know what will happen. So then they messaged Birmingham Children's Hospital, and then that sort of system kicked into its own right. And then from there
we went in a ambulance,
went in special ambulances all the way to Birmingham, and under that we was under their care. We went into HTU for 6 weeks, hourly checks, finding out that she'd carried on to have an earlier brain bleed, and then while we was in Birmingham she had a more serious brain bleed. And then actually because she started going on the medication and they realised what was happening, they found the right medications to minimise any more further strokes.
There's no time to think as such, but again, that word stroke, you associate it with older people. It was just a shock that someone's telling you that your child has had a stroke. It's just unheard of until it happens to you, and then you read all stories that it isn't actually that uncommon.
Before the stroke I was incredibly sporty. I loved doing sports. You know, I did kickboxing, I got to the second dan in that. In karate I got to second dan in that as well. After the stroke, my life kind of, like social group wise, I had a few of my friends that were, stay close to me, and then, you have a few that just are like, no, I'm not going to hang out with you anymore. But, can't really do anything about them, can you? Obviously, the stroke, it affected a lot of my day-to-day life and day-to-day stuff that you take for granted, don't you? So I couldn't, obviously, function very well on this side. So when I was in hospital, for example, I had to take them bath bed things. Like that just meant I couldn't do anything for myself. I had to do a lot of physio on this hand and just walking, I had to learn how to walk again and stuff. The most frightening time for me was seeing my mum and dad really upset. I was like, what can I do Sorry, can we start for a minute? I want to like raise awareness that it's not just in older people that strokes occur. Like, I know there's obviously not a lot of, there's a funding going into, you know, the research and that, but I feel as though, especially like in stroke adverts, for example, the FAST advert, it's mainly like older people, and it makes people think, oh yeah, that couldn't happen to that kid over there, when the fact is it could, and like, it can happen to babies and stuff. Like, people don't expect it because it's not being publicised enough in a way. Like a toddler could walk in it could be like having a stroke or something, and you wouldn't think it. So yeah, I just want to spread that message that it affects people's lives and it can happen to anyone.